Good morning. As we approach the cross-quarter fire festival of Beltane, I thought a few days in advance we'd have a go at a incense which is suitable for Beltane. I like to go always from, as you know, from first principles. I don't like to blindly follow any recipes in any books without having reasons for including the ingredients in an incense. And so we go back to the essence, if you like, the principle, the purpose of the celebration of Beltane. As I said, it's a cross-quarter fire festival. It comes between the spring equinox and the summer solstice, and thus it is the culmination of spring, the start of the true summer. It stands opposite Samhain on the wheel of the year, and the two festivals, Samhain and Beltane, were the two most important and most widely celebrated of the fire festivals of the Celtic Age. Samhain being the chief one, Beltane being slightly less so, but both extremely important. During the time of Beltane, the sun has entered Taurus, the bull, in itself a symbol of virility, male strength, and so on. And also at Beltane, the star constellation, the Pleiades, rises at dawn on the 1st of May. At the opposite side of the wheel of the year, the Pleiades rises at sunset. The Pleiades, being sort of universally visible in the sky, would have been apparent to our ancestors as well as to us, and it's in the constellation of Taurus. Both Beltane and Samhain are times when the veil between the worlds becomes thin. There is access to and from the underworld. The Irish fairies are likely to be up to mischief. So it is, like Samhain, it is a time when we can contact the other world. Agriculturally, Beltane is important, and traditionally it has been said that the ancients used to drive their cattle between two fires at Beltane in order to bring health and protection, and then they would release them into the summer pastures. Blossom is quite important as well. We associate hawthorn very often with Beltane, and a lot of recipes for a Beltane incense include hawthorn flowers in there. Well, quite honestly, it's lovely, and I would love it if the hawthorn blossom were out at Beltane, but in this country, and certainly in our location, the likelihood of hawthorn blossom being in full bloom by the 1st of May is virtually zero. I think possibly I remember once after an exceptionally wonderful spring, and we actually had May blossom at Beltane on May the 1st. So I'm not going to attempt. I was looking at the buds on the hawthorn on our walk yesterday, and they're still very tightly furled. However, we do have apple blossom, which is just coming in, and which will most probably be out fully by Beltane. Mythologically, Beltane is the time when the god is a virile young man, whatever you want to call him. Herne, Cernunnos, Jack in Green, Robin Goodfellow. He's at the height of his male powers, and he comes together with the goddess now a voluptuous young woman, and they come together, they copulate to ensure the fertility of the land. The symbology of the maypole, although this was hotly debated at our moot last night, for me the maypole is the phallus of the god, which is thrust deep into the belly of the earth, thus ensuring the fertility of the land. So it's really quite a raw, raunchy symbol. And dances were around the maypole with the ribbons were carried out in honour of that coming together of the male and the female, of the god and the goddess. In addition, young people would work sympathetic magic by leaving the gathering and going into the bushes and doing as the god and the goddess in honour of this bringing the fertility to the land. It was also traditionally a time when couples would plight their troth, become betrothed for a year and a day in a kind of trial marriage. If at the end of the year and the day it wasn't working, then they would simply part company. If they liked it, they would probably get married for real and carry on with it. So from all of that, I've taken a number of tenets, if you like, tried to pick away at the essence of it, and take a number of themes and put together my ingredients for it. So first of all, I wanted something to honour the god in all his strength and virility. I wanted to honour the goddess, their passion, the fertility of the land, and sensuality. So those are the themes that I've picked out from the story, from the essence, if you like, of Beltane. So what I've got, what I'm going to do, is for the god, and I've not used this before, this is oak bark, which has been gifted by our poorly oak tree that some of you know at the back of the garden, which is sadly dying, but it's still a joy, and it still comes into leaf in places in the summer. So this is oak bark from our tree, and I'm going to include that for the god. Now if you don't have oak bark, then another possibility would be to include some sort of sandalwood. This is yellow sandalwood. You could include red sandalwood, or you could perhaps include cedarwood. So those, if you wanted something to stand for the god, then those would do very well. For the goddess, I mentioned last week about cowslip. It has associations with beauty and attraction. The Norse dedicated it to the goddess Freya. It was used in divinations. Little balls made out of cowslip would be tossed hand to hand to the rhyme Tinker Tailor Soldier Sailor, and wherever the thing ended up, that would be your bridegroom's occupation. So I'm going to include some dried cowslip for the goddess. Now I suppose if you wanted to sacrifice a bit of apple blossom, you could sacrifice that apple blossom. If you were lucky enough to have hawthorn in flower, you could put some hawthorn, dried hawthorn in, or indeed, you know, any flower that's in bloom at the moment that you could get a few days beforehand and dry. For passion, I'm going to have in my blend some cinnamon, and for fertility I was going to use allspice, but I found I hadn't got any whole allspice, but another substitute is star anise, so I'm going to use star anise because I've got a whole piece of that. Now oil, sensuality, I'm going to use jasmine. So I've got some jasmine oil there, but because jasmine is so expensive, a substitute could be ylang ylang, which is also a very sensual oil. They say it's poor man's jasmine. And then, or of course, a kind of aphrodisiac, you could have patchouli. So those would be substitutes instead of a very expensive jasmine. So those are my ingredients. Copal, I didn't mention the copal. Copal is a resin used by Mesoamericans, the Inca, the Maya, used a lot. There are lots of different types of copal, and for the Mesoamericans it symbolised love. So going on this idea of the marriage of the god and the goddess, the betrothal of the couples during May time, I'm going to go for copal as my resin, my base resin. You could use frankincense, you could use benzoin. Both have associations with love, with the sun, and with fertility and passion. So benzoin and or I was tempted to put some benzoin in this blend because I like it so much, but since I put benzoin in my spring equinox incense, I thought we'd maybe give the benzoin a rest. So what we're going to do, as we normally do, is I'm going to put, now this is quite big, so I'm going to put a spoon of copal in my pestle and mortar. This in particular incense is going to take a bit of grinding, which I'm not going to do on screen, but I will do it off screen. So give it a bit of a bang bang to break it up a bit. Actually, it's breaking up quite nicely. So it will stand a little bit more, I think. That's broken up quite well, apart from the bits that have shot out all over the table. Then I'm going to put my, let's put the oak in first, and we'll give that, I had a go at the oak part previously on a chopping board with a rolling pin. I whacked it about a bit to get it broken up, but it will grind up a little bit better in the pestle and mortar because it will sort of crash up against the copal, so that'll break it down even further. And then you notice I'm not doing parts because this is all in lumps. Now I have got quite a lot of cinnamon out here, but I'm not going to put it all in because it's very pungent. So I'm just going to put, so I'm not doing parts, I'm just doing it by eye. And I'm doing slightly less than I was doing for the spring equinox incense because I made far too much of that. Okay, I can resurrect it next year, but I did make quite a lot and I gave some away. So there's, if you don't feel it's enough when you look at it and it's bashed up, then you can always add a little bit more. So there's my cinnamon, which is ground up quite nicely against the copal. Then we've got our allspice, which is our fertility inclusion. Again, it's very pungent, so I'm only going to put the one flower in. It's broken up. That's nice. Smells very strongly of allspice, but I think the allspice will actually go quite nicely with the jasmine. I just have a feeling that they'll marry together quite well. So then I'm going to put my cowslip flowers in. Just give that a quick whisk round. And then a couple of drops of the jasmine oil. Now, as I say, jasmine is very expensive, so you can substitute ylang ylang, should we say three, or patchouli for your jasmine, if you like. So that has put the jasmine in there. I'll have a little meditative stir with that later. Interesting. I think the the jasmine and the allspice do go strangely well together. So there's a Beltane incense. As I say, I haven't done the parts, the spoons. Because I've been using whole spices, I've just had to guesstimate what it will be like. I can always keep a record of that, and then when I burn it, if I feel that I need some more of one ingredient or the other, I can always make a note in my incense notebook. So that's taking the essence of things that I think is important. The Beltane, that's oak bark for the god, cowslip flowers for the goddess, cinnamon for their passion, allspice for the fertility of the land, or you could use, as I've done, star anise, and then for sensuality I've got jasmine oil. So that's our Beltane incense. I hope everybody has an absolutely blessed Beltane, such a special celebration. And to sum up the essence, for me, of Beltane, in the words of Damh the Bard, in the sunlit forest, the animals they bowed, as the piper laid his goddess down. That for me sums up the essence of Beltane. Thank you.